And I think we've got Jeff Dunitz on the line now, and he's even social distancing properly. Jeff, well done.
Does Governor Cuomo watch your show?
No, I doubt very seriously that Governor Cuomo watches my show.
Okay, I could take this off.
You are able to take that off, yes.
Because he says that we're not allowed to do anything without a mask on.
You may need to tilt your camera down just a little bit, Jeff. I'm losing the top of your head and your beautiful head of hair. There you go.
Right. And actually, I think they should make it permanent that Nancy Pelosi wears a mask, but that's for different reasons.
Did you see her wearing a mask in Congress?
No, but you know what I did see? Her last interview, I don't know what she did with her eyes, but they were more open than usual. Somebody stapled them open.
She was at the podium, right? She's on the floor of Congress, and she has her mask on. She pulls the mask down, rubs her nose, and puts her hands on the podium.
Well, let's not touch her face.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
But, can I just say two quick things about...
Absolutely not.
Okay, forget it then.
Go ahead.
Number one, you got to be easy on Biden, because he might have assaulted her, but he doesn't remember anything. The guy is senile.
I will grant you. I haven't seen the podcast of Joe Biden welcoming Hillary Clinton's endorsement. Apparently, she appeared on his podcast this afternoon. I haven't seen it,
she did.
But I am going to assume that it is every bit as technically brilliant as, the Ed Morrissey show actually is.
Well, I was thinking that I would tape it and watch it when I'm finally done watching all the episodes of Tiger King.
I still haven't gotten to that last episode. I don't know. I've kind of lost my drive for the whole Tiger King thing, I think.
You mean the extra one?
Yeah, the extra.
But, actually my son and his friends do a virtual, because they can't hang out, they're doing a virtual Tiger King drinking game.
Oh, jeez.
and why should I mind? Look, they're not going to drive.
Right, true.
So, and he's stuck in the house, as the rest of us are, so why not?
It's a fair point. I mean, it's a fair point.
Now, the second one actually kind of connects what I think we're going to talk about, because Andrew was talking about the New York Times and bias.
Yes.
And I grew up and stopped reading the New York Times because of its bias, and it wasn't a political bias, but whenever Israel was attacked by a terrorist, it would be on page 47. But whenever Israel retaliated, it would be front page banner headline.
Page one, yeah.
Okay, so that was way before it became politically biased.
All right. So speaking of Israel, though, and by the way, the background that I've chosen for our interview, Jeff, is Jerusalem at night.
Oh, it's such a beautiful.
It's gorgeous. I mean, this is a picture that I took when I was there. It's a gorgeous city at night.
It is beautiful. And I've said this very often, but when I went to Jerusalem for the first time, I seemed to know where everything was, even though I've never been there.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I don't know if it's because I've studied it so much, or because, the rabbis sometimes say that there's a special connection, DNA connection between Jews and Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't doubt either one.
So tonight, I should say, tonight will be the 72nd anniversary of the founding of Israel. And I would attempt to say what the name of that holiday is, but I'm going to let you do that.
Atzmaut. And the translation is very, very confusing. Yom means day, and Ha'atzmaut means independence.
Oh, okay. Independence
Day. So
it
means Day of Independence.
Yeah, Day of Independence, Independence Day. So that's congratulations and happy Independence Day to Israel. And you have a nice post up about this, and I linked it in the show post, and in which you say that you give thanks to God and Harry Truman for this day.
Well, for those who aren't familiar with the history, George Marshall, Truman's Secretary of State, was like a god in the United States. And he was also one of the few holdovers between Roosevelt, who died in 1944, and when Truman took over. And you got to understand, Truman was this hokey senator from Kansas that no one knew anything about.
Right.
Okay, and now he's president. He dropped the bomb, and now George Marshall said, if you go ahead and recognize Israel, I'm not going to vote for you. Which, coming from George Marshall, is a real big sting.
Yeah.
And within minutes of Israel declaring its independence, Truman recognized this state. Okay,
right.
But it's really interesting because in November the UN did the partition plan. Now, people should know also that what they say is Palestinian now. The UN divided Palestine into a Jewish Palestinian and an Arab Palestinian, because Jews always lived there.
Right.
And they were called Palestinians. And actually what's called the Jerusalem Post now was the Palestine Post.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the words people use are just a little strange, but they called people into the meeting in this small little library building, actually off of Jerusalem, and I got to tell you, it was slightly bigger than a restroom. I've been there. But they didn't tell anyone what it was for. And Ben Gurion just stood up and said, he read the Declaration of Independence, and he says, okay, that's it. Israel is a station. Go. Because that's how Israelis talk. Am I wrong?
No, I've been there 3 or 4 times now. And
right?
Yeah, that's exactly how they talk. Don't even get me started on how they queue.
Well, that's why they're called sabras. Because a sabra fruit is tough on the outside and soft on the inside.
Yeah, yeah. They're great people. They're terrific people, but they are blunt. They are. Yes.
Which is one of the reasons why Israel and Obama never got along. Well, that and the fact that Obama hated Jews in Israel. But besides that, but it's true, Ed. I mean, you've seen the posts I've done. I have. Yeah, you've links and everything.
You've made the argument very well.
You know, the guy is just, you know, and now we have Biden going to do the same thing. But
maybe
the interesting thing, yeah, God forbid, exactly.
Well, no, we may not have Biden.
That's what I mean.
I'm thinking that. I think Democrats I think they have their options. I think they have their options, and I think they're going to hold on to those options.
Well, it'll be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
It's certainly going to be interesting, and thank God, you know, they're not going to have the convention, and neither are the Republicans. So
no. This is a whole other thing that I'm talking about, but we don't need to get into that right now. I do want to ask you though about Israel's election, because.
Boy, was it a sleazy outcome.
Yeah, tell us what the outcome is. What's the status now? I'm not even sure what the status now is.
Well, first of all, Israel had 3 elections in a 17-month period. Okay, which is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot of elections, and it's tiresome for the voters. That's really tiresome. Yeah.
And the only way that they were going to not have a 4th election was to have a coalition between Netanyahu and his #1 rival, Benny Gantz. Benny Gantz was actually the chief of staff of the IDF.
Yeah.
Now, it's two-pronged. Netanyahu's party got the most seats in Knesset. There are 120 seats in Knesset, and the coalition, because there's never been anybody who's gotten 61. The coalition that gets to 61 puts together a government. Well, Netanyahu's party got the most seats.
Right.
but the left-wing coalition got the most, what do you call it, had 61 seats. Well, actually, they didn't have 61 seats, but they had more seats than the right-wing coalition.
Right, yes.
The first two elections, it was the other way around. The right wing got more than the left wing, and this time it was left wing getting more than the right wing. Anyway, they were about to. What happens is the president of Israel, who has very few actual responsibilities, gets to pick who's going to put together the government.
This is basically his only real functional role, right?
That and everything else, he's like a vice president. He goes to funerals and weddings.
Right. It's ceremonial. It's like the president in any other. I mean, it's a parliamentary system. The presidents of countries and parliamentary systems. It's like the Queen. It's like the Queen in the UK. It's like the president of Ireland.
He's a head of state.
He's a head of state, but it's a ceremonial post only, right, except for dealing with the outcome of an election.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so this time, what happened between the election, which was at the beginning of March, and a week ago, was coronavirus.
Right.
And Israel got it bad. And Netanyahu was handling it, but he kept saying, and the president kept saying, you know what? We want you to do a national emergency government, you and Gantz. And they debated, and basically that day after they finally came to an agreement, the president of Israel was going to call for new elections. The Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah, again?
What the real holdup was, and we've had this discussion once on air, Netanyahu is under indictment.
Right.
Okay. Now, but he's been the caretaker prime minister since the first election 17 months ago. And, of course, before that. He was actually first got his seat as prime minister this time in 2009. It was right after Obama got elected. Anyway, Netanyahu wanted in it that, well, he wanted protections for himself.
Sure, right. Yeah, it makes sense.
So he got to pick the equivalent of the attorney general, okay, the justice minister.
Right, right.
He gets to pick, his party gets the majority in the judicial committee of the Knesset.
Right.
Okay. And there were other things, like, for example, if the Supreme Court says that he can't serve because of that, because of Gantz doesn't take over. There's a new election.
Okay.
Okay. So you put it all together that Netanyahu wasn't agreeing to in a government to do this type of deal until he got protections. And that's why I say it was kind of sleazy.
Right. Right.
Okay. The way this works is that, and it was done once before, but Netanyahu is the prime minister for the next year and a half. After that, Benny Gantz becomes prime minister. But Gantz ran on, his ticket was anybody but Bibi.
Right, which makes this deal a little curious, right? He
swore that he would never get, right? But wait, the Labor government, which used to be the biggest party in Israel for the first, I guess, 50 years, okay, until Menachem Begin. So whatever, that was 75, I think.
75 or 76, something like that,
right,
yeah.
Right. It was always the Labor Party. It was the biggest government.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah, sure.
Well, now Labor gets like 3 or 4. This time, I think they got 7 seats.
It's kind of like the Liberals in the UK. They used to be one of the two biggest parties, and then in the early 1970s, they just kind of all disappeared. There was a huge scandal about that too. But
but it wasn't one of two biggest parties. It was the biggest party.
Right. Right.
Okay, and they also joined the government. Okay,
well,
and they also swore up and down that they would never join a coalition with Netanyahu. But actually, there is kind of one thing that proves in my mind that there is a God.
What's that?
Avigdor Lieberman. Okay.
Yeah.
His resignation from the government started this 17-month roller coaster.
Right. I remember that. Yes.
And he kept refusing to align his party with any coalition because he wanted to be the kingmaker.
Right.
They're not in the new government.
No.
Nah.
All right. Before I let you go, I got to give you a quick update on the Hillary Clinton endorsement. And I'm going to give this to you, Jeff, because I know we've only got a couple of minutes here before I got to bring on Eric Goss. But, we were talking about this that Hillary Clinton endorsed Joe Biden today. Here's Tara Reid's statement on that. I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I voted for her in the primary. I'm a lifelong Democrat. But yet what I see now is someone enabling a sexual predator, and it was my former boss, Joe Biden, who raped me. Hillary Clinton has a history of enabling powerful men to cover up their sexual predatory behaviors and their inappropriate sexual misconduct. We don't need that for this country. We don't need that for a new generation coming up that wants institutional rape culture to change. I will not be smeared, dismissed, or ignored. I stand in truth, and I will keep speaking out.
Well, I keep saying that the media put Tara Reid in the Juanita Broderick file.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're putting her in the Juanita Broderick file. That's exactly what they're doing.
Because she was raped by Bill Clinton, and
at the very least, she's claimed that, and she is stuck with that story for 30 years.
And I've seen her talk about it, and you can't. I used to be an actor, Ed. You can't cry like that on cue. I'm sorry. That's a real emotional hurt.
Well, at any rate,
just one other thing.
She's at least as credible as some of the people who've come out against Republicans that the media will cover ad infinitum while they're ignoring people like Tara Reid.
But it's even more than that, because every time that a Republican is suspected of doing something bad, anybody who once knew a Republican was asked if they believe it or not.
Right. Yes.
You don't have to be, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they're not even asking every Republican. Every Democrat.
Right.
They knew about it.
Right.
But the other thing that I really want to suggest to people, if you go to the post you put up in the show post.
Yeah.
At the very bottom is a video of Israel's national anthem, and personally I think it's a beautiful song.
Yep, it is. So check that out, and you can go
I'll tell you just one other thing about that song, though.
Quickly.
Theodore Herzl, you know who he is?
Yes, I do. Yes.
He's the guy who started the Zionist movement.
Yes.
He hated that song. But supposedly the guy who wrote the music was a drunkard. But I'm thinking, gee, he should know that the Star Spangled Banner is to the tune of an old
drinking
song.
Yeah.
So it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love the Star Spangled Banner.
All right, Jeff Dunnett's at lidblog.com. He's on Twitter at YidWithLid. Jeff, thanks for being with us today, sir. We'll talk to you again soon. And happy Independence Day anniversary today, by the way, for Israel.
You too.
All right, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.